Hi, Brian. Welcome to HeadSpin Corner. Thank you so much for being here and thank you for making time to speak with us. I'm very excited to host you. You are our CTO and co founder. So, doubly excited to hear your journey as well as just understand how things are and what's looking exciting for the future. To start with, tell us a little bit about yourself and an app that you absolutely love right now.
Thanks, Jeena. I'm really happy to be here. It's kind of fun, catching up with everyone. So thanks for reaching out to me and catching up. Um, so about myself, yeah, I mean, way back, I started my undergrad. I graduated from UC Berkeley EECS, focusing, kind of coming out of that with InfoBiz is my focus area. Did a bunch of undergrad research and information visualization, and then went into Silicon Valley. I spent a brief time as a researcher after that, but realized that actually I love building products and getting stuff that people use. I find it very satisfying, and I've just been working on startups ever since. Some apps I love. I actually really love communication apps. In no particular order, I have Slack, GitHub, BlueJeans, Zoom, Dropbox, and Umail. I think these are all like really interesting communication apps, helping me stay in touch. I really do love this segment of apps, and personally, I use iMessage and FaceTime a ton to keep in touch with family and friends.
Great. I was going to ask you because they all sound like work apps. So thank you for telling me non-work apps. That's great. So before Headspin, you were at Quora, right? Tell us a little bit more about how was that experience? How was it also to work with Adam D'Angelo?
Yeah, great, great question. Yeah, so Adam's one of the smartest people I know. Really awesome to see him work. I mean, he wasn't really in an engineering role at Quora, but certainly as the founder and setting the direction was really great to interact with him on a daily basis. And he's currently an investor in Headspin, so it's great to kind of have him still on the team here. I guess one of the most interesting things I found interesting about Quora, and sort of one of the reasons I was interested to join is that it really had a long-term mission and a long-term idea of how to make data useful. So I think there's an intentionality about how you approach building a platform that creates data, that sort of trains ML models and builds a long-term impact and ecosystem that yeah, Adam was very intentional about and very inspirational to see his thinking, 10 years in the future. And I think a lot of those lessons, have really inspired me as my future work with data and also my current work at Headspin.
And where did you go after Quora?
Yeah, so after Quora, I joined a small startup. I really wanted to get involved in future of work communication. So I had an opportunity to work with the former CTO of Microsoft. He started an app, and I joined as his Android lead, building out this Android app that he was working on. And it eventually got acquired by Microsoft and shut down. It became part of Microsoft Teams. But that we were like contemporary to Slack and kind of during this momentum of trying to reinvent work communication. And based on that experience, I had a lot of thoughts about how to build apps. Going through Quora, definitely was able to launch more apps to global users. Get a lot of learnings about supporting apps, how to build great apps, working with users to fix issues and iterate on apps. My other experience was actually much more how to build a robust app, how to build a reliable app, because it was a communication product. And through that, I think I really found it interesting that I had sort of come into the mobile space in around 2010. And was trying to learn, right? My background up until that point was data, enterprise data systems. and was learning a bunch, but really felt like I was like learning like every day, every week, how to handle a lot of different variability in the way people were using apps. And I thought that it was interesting to me that a lot of apps were using a relatively small number of like open source components, and I wanted to go off and try to make the network experience like easier and better to build more reliable apps. So I started a company called Nextop, and that was my next stop.
Is that how the name came to be? Is that how you named it?
Yeah, well, it was named. I think it was mobile's the next desktop. So it was Next Desktop. Like we all like really, desktop is this like reliable platform that's on Wi-Fi that everyone trusts to do work, and so it was a combination of words, Next Desktop, and that was Nextop. Yeah, it was trying to make mobile very very reliable and usable, and just a tool that people could embed in their apps to fix problems.
That is so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Nextstop was backed by YC. How was that process qualifying for YC? How tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a fun process. So my co-founder and I actually recorded our YC demo or pitch video in a taxi cab. We rode around the city in New York City, and basically showed how apps were working in the cab, and how picking apart how they could be they could be done better, but essentially mobile teams just like didn't have time to fix this stuff. And there's a hole, right? Because I think basically YC application is you do a couple interviews, and it's funny, around the same time we were interviewing a book, Peter Thiel's book 0 to 1 came out, which I really like Peter Thiel. I had the opportunity to work with him in the first startup I worked at. Obviously really, really smart business thinker. And I found his book 0 to 1 really insightful. And apparently YC, the YC interviewers also think is very insightful, because I felt like a lot of the questions during the interview were kind of came directly from 0 to 1 or similar, and I think 0 to 1 came from a bunch of like Stanford Business School lectures that Peter Thiel had given. And basically, I think, YC's, investing in companies, hoping that one will find some repeatable value that no one else has seen. And so a lot of the questions are, okay, what's the market opportunity? Like, one, can you build it, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people have ideas, but YC is very much focused on, people taking ideas to reality.
Right.
Can you build it? And then also, like, what do you know? What do you believe that other people don't know? Like, what are you going to double down on, right, as you build your company? Because like you can't keep changing directions every year, right? Like you really have to commit to a marathon of building value over the next 5 years, 10 years, right, on this direction of where you think you have an advantage. And I think for us, what we thought is that, look, like, yeah, the network is like really hard. From our experience building apps, network was hard. Also, developers rely on a relatively few number of tools to build with. So we felt that the network also impacted a lot of the user experience. Like we actually felt like the majority of issues that end users experience were probably like due to some network issue. So we felt like we built like really good tools to fix the networking side, that there could be a business there, right? Like it would kind of fit into what people currently do, and trusting a relatively few number of tools. And so our challenge was like, how do we actually build a business, right? Like we knew there had to be some open source, there had to be some closed source, and I think that was the big challenge for us.
Great. Well, now shifting gears to our current favorite company, HeadSpin. How did you come about? How did you meet Manish? Tell us a little bit more of that journey. And also, how did you realize that Manish is the co-founder that you want to work with? And as you say that, also tell us about how has that relationship evolved over the years, and what are some of the things that you've learned together?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, it's kind of funny. When people talk about Silicon Valley, it's kind of an idea, but I do think that there was something special in Silicon Valley, right? Because I'll tell the story about how I met Manish. And it's so I started my career at a little startup in a basement on PageMail. And so it's funny, like 15 years ago, I was in a basement on PageMail. And then, fast forward to 2015, right? I'm going through kind of like doing a extended seed round, talking to VCs and trying to think of like what's next for the company, like where do we want to take this company. And obviously I think had a lot of thoughts about we needed to like figure out a different way to sell it than an SDK. Like we needed to be a platform or something that tapped into other types of budgets. So one of the companies I pitched was AME Cloud Ventures, and our current office
It's right next door.
happens to be 2 doors down from AME Cloud Ventures. So Nick Adams over at AME Cloud Ventures, I pitched him and he said, look, I've heard this before. Somebody else is trying to start a company, trying to build some kind of like, platform where you can fix issues in your apps. And, you should go talk to them because Silicon Valley is all about, creating win-wins, right? The mutual win between the founders, the investors, everyone in the company, all the shareholders, working hard and coming out on top. And so I think it's really magical to see it happen, right? Like when you can pair up with someone who can accelerate what you're trying to do, I mean, everyone loves it. So so Nick made the intro to Manish, talked to Manish, kicked around some ideas. And I felt like, there was a couple of things that really impressed me. One was I felt like, yes, there's a lot to build here. And as you know, at HeadSpin, right, we're 5 years in and there's still a lot to build and there's a lot to go, right? And so that was pretty apparent that, we're talking about something that really hasn't existed before in terms of like a testing platform, a monitoring platform, a data platform. We're touching on new topics. That was very exciting to me. And additionally, what I saw in Manish is just, commitment to customer success. And I think we both, had that, we want to work very hard closely with customers to make sure customers succeed and customers can get some value. And I think it's that iteration with customer that we've been doing ever since. We're super customer driven company. We work very closely with customers, trying to build the platform that works well for them. And and just from Manish, I mean, everything, Manish has started companies before, and everything you have to do as a founder, Manish embodies, right? You have to get products out fast. You have to, find out what your advantage is, think on your feet, and act quickly and build things quickly, right? And Manish is definitely embodies that. So it's been great working with him and working with customers and making this into a real company. And I think we've gotten there, and it's been very exciting.
I can attest to the fact how customer centric you guys are, both of you, in the way how you approach conversations with partners, but also with when you are looking at products and features that you're trying to prioritize and build. So absolutely, it's great, and thank you so much for building this amazing company. I'm very grateful. I know a lot of us, everybody at HeadSpin is grateful to kind of work here, but also be part of this company while there are so many other things going on around the world. So yeah, thank you. And I want
thank you, Jeena. I mean, I'm building a vessel, right? I think we'll get to that. I think there's some questions about that.
Yeah, we're barely scratching the surface. So absolutely. Just kind of along so segue to, I often hear you speak about this when we talk about, we should do this and we should do that. And you constantly bring the conversation back to stability, reliability of the platform. And I remember that very clearly. And I want to understand a bit more. And if you could share this with the folks who are listening as well. What does that mean and how have you been building it? And with the customer voice in mind, and how are you scaling something like that as more and more hundreds more other customers and channel partners access our platform?
Yeah, great question. So this is all, I think, part of our journey and our evolution from a startup to, you know, an enterprise class company. Great companies and great products are products that you can trust, that you believe in, that you can recommend to people, that solve problems reliably for you. From a company side, I mean, it's the difference between, you know, a nice to have product and a must have, right? Is if you're something that people can rely on, you take a lot of pressure off them, right? To you make their lives easier. And so building a company that can deliver that type of stability, that reliability, enterprise trust for customers is something that's very important to me. So everything I do, I keep that in mind. I mean, as a team, we see ourselves building something at the same class as AWS, you know, EC2, which is something that every, you know, a lot of companies trust AWS, right? You wouldn't think twice about, you know, spinning up an EC2 instance and using it for some, you know, something critical to your business. That's the level that where we're taking HeadSpin, and, you know, where every day we review and improve is how, you know, how do we make this so that companies can, you know, set up their automation using us and run it and trust that it's working correctly, that and get the data they're looking for, and you know, on our side, make sure that the data is continually accurate, that you know, the infrastructure is working at the SLAs that we expect. And so certainly when we built HeadSpin, we knew this was going to be a different type of data center. This is a different type of infrastructure. When when you talk about you're going to have a giant global platform, and that's going to be the essential piece of your platform to be able to access so many different locations in the world, you really have to approach that from a different perspective in terms of how do you build that type of infrastructure and that type of data center. And so I think at our very core of the company is like, we're building a data center, a big distributed data center. And yes, I mean, everyone expects a data center to be reliable, secure, you know, enterprise class. And so certainly every day we continue to push in that direction and make that reality. And I think that's how great things are built, is just, you know, week over week progress and focusing on a goal, and, you know, never losing sight of that goal. And, you know, we really are very grateful for all of our customers and continue to push to make this a tool that works well for them.
Great. I sometimes think that our customers they keep us on our toes, keep us honest, continue to keep on innovating, right? Because they come up with the most interesting problems to solve, and that's what we're looking for. So absolutely, a lot that we've learned from our customers and partners. I want to know a little bit more about your engineering team. So tell us a bit more about what have been your guiding principles in building out a successful engineering team, a team that majority of folks who sit out of the Palo Alto office and or are in different parts of the world and very collaborative in person as well as online. How has shelter in place kind of affected that, and how are you still driving a successful and collaborative environment? What have you learned, and what can you share?
Cool. Yeah. Great question. So every startup, you know, is in a talent war, right? I mean, the make or break of any company is getting great people who can execute. And I mean, that's my guiding principle, is we have a relatively low hire rate. We really look for people who fit with high caliber, high character, who can communicate. And so what I look for on the engineering team is, I guess, three principles. If I had to write it down, is one, I'm looking to work with, you know, great people, like people who are driven, who want to do something, you know, want to build something that matters. I also love to work with people who want to get into the problem, right? Write code, ship products, talk to customers and repeat. I mean, really, I think that's the essential function of product development is, build it, get it out to people, see how they're using it, repeat. And it's really a process that, never ends. And I think that probably the third thing I look for is, people who want to continually improve. So continually improve is essential in the industry. I mean, it's, anytime there's a market, there's always competition. You always have to, change is inevitable, especially in our space, right? Where there's a new release every year, right? And, our customers are releasing, every 2 weeks, and the platforms they're releasing onto are changing every year. So we continually have to, improve and keep up to date with what we do. And so having that drive in people who never are satisfied, never, always thirst to make it better, make it, solve the fundamental problems. Those are the type of people I love to work with. As part of the talent war, I think it's been recognized for a while that when you start a team, engineering team, you should really think about working in a way such that you can onboard remote collaborators. And this actually opens up the ability to hire remote, whether or not distributed remote is like a majority of the team or sort of a subset. In this industry, a lot of times you're chasing talent that's a good fit, right? Like there's not an abundance of people who are networking experts who can also build native components and do protocol analysis, who are looking for a job, right? I mean, and so a lot of times when you find someone who's a fit, it really helps to be able to adapt to where they live, where they want to work. And obviously nobody's going to stay at a company where they feel like they're not able to contribute. So one of the goals I had for starting the team was we're going to try to work in a way that can scale distributed and remote, or at least has a ramp to go there, whether or not, I still value that we do have about 60% of our team in Palo Alto. But as we grow, we're expanding up into Canada. We have New York, and we have Tokyo, which are kind of growing as hubs. So I hope that we can continue to find great people there. And so some of the lessons that we do is we do all of our communication is document driven. So all of our communication that matters is in a way such that changes are logged and people can catch up. And so like every project we work on has a goal, a clearly written goal. Our models, we do like specializations and then project teams that pull in people across specializations. And so every project we do has a goal that's clear. It's scoped into timelines that are clear, so people can catch up and understand, what are they working on? And, if someone joins, they can quickly understand, what's the scope and the delivery of the project. We have a way of communicating with chat that I think is effective. It lets us keep our communication focused in terms of project teams and also incidents and general teams, to keep people feeling connected. I think someone on the team has recently launched, trying to do hangouts on a regular basis, especially during this stay in place time. And then we do an all hands every 2 to 3 months to make sure we have yearly goals for the team, which overall are the guiding principles of how, basically when you're on the development side of building a product, right, there's like so many things you can build and not all of it matters. And it really helps if everyone on the team has basically a fast understanding of what matters and what doesn't. So that's very clearly, set for the team, so everyone can like make these decisions. And we try to keep the way new decisions are made and new projects are allocated in a very controlled way, so that people aren't distracted, but then also the project teams pretty much own and, evolve the projects themselves. So there's a huge amount of ownership and trust, once we decide to work on something. I think overall, if people, project teams feel aligned and people feel like they can communicate and understand what people work on. Also, everything we do is in Git. Almost everything is in Git, so it's versioned. You can see changes. Very, very transparent in terms of, how we build the product. I think it scales, and we've been successfully able to onboard remote people and keep them, and collaborate and work together. So far it's been great. I'm personally very, very interested in remote working. I joined a company, but before becoming like a full-time entrepreneur, that was focused entirely on remote working. It's something I think is the future of work. Personally, just, I do think it lets people reach a better optimum in their life. Obviously there's a lot of factors that come into play, but so yeah, anytime, I think for me personally, when I will run an engineering team, I will, have a remote, friendly bias to the team. And I think it really involves, making remote people feel connected the same way that people in the office are connected, from, for what matters, right? Obviously not every conversation's there, but the projects, the product, everyone understands it equally.
100%. I actually think, it sounds like also that you prioritize and focus on talent and skills. And then location is not the first thing that you're optimizing for, but is how skilled and talented and how collaborative everyone is, because that way you get to get the best of talent no matter where they're located, which kind of is, if I were to draw a parallel, it's also like our, being able to test and run performance no matter where the device is located or where so we're kind of like staying true to the platform goals as well.
Yeah. Every startup, especially engineering teams and startups, are in a talent war. I mean, 100%. There are not, engineers who can build and deliver can get a job so fast. And so yeah, definitely being able to, if someone's a fit and interested in what you're doing and feels like they can be productive in what you're doing, being able to, realize that with them is a huge advantage for a startup. Yep.
That's amazing. Well, I'm going to give you a tough question then on that topic. Pick a rising star from your team.
Yeah, I can't name names here. Obviously everyone on my team I think is really good. I love working with everyone. And I thought of like how I can answer this, and I think a good answer is that I at one point I heard a measure of a successful team is, a company culture is how many startups, come out of the company, eventually. Like I'm sure you're familiar with the PayPal mafia and just how influential that team has been, right? And obviously PayPal has shown itself to be an enduring product. I believe the same way. I feel like my first goal for a team is to enable people to be successful with their career and what they're trying to achieve. I do think that attracts a lot of entrepreneurial people to work with me. And I think that I would invest in quite a number of startups that came out of HeadSpin just based on the people. But I can't name names because I don't want competition.
No, but that's
Also,
such a brilliant way of looking at it, though. Like how many successful startup founders or startups come out of one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really speaks to the quality of talent you can achieve. Like, so a product is a bunch of decisions made every day, right? And you have to hire people you trust to make the right decisions, because if you make the wrong decisions, you eventually just don't get to where you're trying to get to. So if you can get those entrepreneurial people who can focus and make the right decisions, obviously they're going to help drive our platform forward and, solve these really important problems that we're trying to solve. And then, those same skills are the exact same skills that are going to be applied in new domains. And those are exactly the type of people I look for.
Nice. So what you're saying is the first person who goes out and creates their own company is your rising star.
No, I wouldn't say it that way. I mean, I would say that I'd say that the quality of the team is such that if that did happen, I would gladly be an angel investor for
Nice.
many people on the team. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. I have a couple more questions that I wanted to talk to you about. But first of all, amongst, we talked about the engineering team. And so HeadSpin also has, sales, marketing, other functions as well. How do you, you have to often work with cross-functional teams. So how do you kind of, you and the team collaborate? Give us an example of anything that's recent that comes to mind of any initiative where you, collaborate with cross-functional teams.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like we're an extremely customer-focused company, and design partners have been huge for our success. I mean, when we're able to build a repeatable solution as part of our platform that satisfies the need of a leading company in a space or a partner we think is particularly insightful in a space, that's huge. And so I think, I'm not sure what I can say here about customers, but we recently launched a pretty awesome new set of features for one customer, and it's really awesome to see, obviously work across the team with sales, customer success, operations, and get the product built and delivered, and making our customers successful, and then seeing the product evolve and advance to basically make that repeatable. And I think that's really, that's really how product development has to be done, is what works for a leading customer. If you can, if it's something that can be repeated for other customers, that's ultimately, obviously how you build something that's applicable to the industry. And so that requires working every day with sales, working every day with customer success. Making, solving hard problems that are affecting customers. Like the entire team is dedicated to customer success. And yeah, I guess that's what I'd say is what I think is I do, like what I focus on is making new salespeople successful in terms of, my role, aligning the business with the technology and, guiding the company. A really important piece is, can we, onboard new salespeople and have them, successfully, deliver value to customers. And so that's been a huge focus of me, in that front is, how are we supporting our salespeople and our new salespeople and making the process repeatable for them. And so, yeah, it's been great. I'm really excited, and definitely, there's a lot we offer from hosted to on-premise, and making all this very, very repeatable and scalable has been exciting.
Awesome. Thank you. And for my final question, I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of us are also curious around what are some of the exciting features that you can share that we are thinking about for 2020 and beyond? What keeps you up at night? And don't tell me coffee. So share a bit more about what we can expect in 2020.
What keeps me up at night? Pings on WhatsApp. I'm just joking.
You have that turned on. Do you have sound? Do you have the volume on?
Yeah. I do nighttime tickets. I try to triage tickets from other time zones at night to keep things running. So yeah, I'm usually up pretty late, available if there's anything going on. But exciting features. So I think basically what I see is like more data. Like very excited to continue to offer more data. We have a ton of great data coming out, speaking to networking, bunch of new protocols coming in the platform, streaming performance data. And so getting more data to customers is super exciting. It helps them, make better decisions and increase the value of their automation. Running more automation, that's huge. Making it easier to run automation. We launched an initiative called HeadSpin University to train, give people a resource to learn automation who don't know automation. And then every week we're doing a live automation of apps, which I think we have some really great apps on the schedule. And I'm also really excited for the tooling we have around first load and web page testing. I think which makes it really easy for people to basically get data from their app without any automation experience. The machine learning, the AI issues are super exciting for me. I mean, this year we've seen the amount of useful data from every test increase. So now, for example, when you run a browser test on HeadSpin, it automatically gives you the page load time for every page. So you can actually just tap around the page from your test or from manually, and we automatically give you the amount of time the page took to load, which is great. And all this goes into our open data platform and our dashboards. And we actually just launched a new awesome regression feature, which maybe I'll put as the last piece. So we've been pushing more to make the data operationalizable by teams, such as when you're running your integration testing continually, how do you find performance regressions? How do you find user experience regressions? There's a ton of stuff that came out last month and coming out in the next couple months around that, like new UIs and new really awesome data viz, as well as APIs to help you understand regressions. So super excited about all that. And there's other stuff on the roadmap. I can't completely talk to it, but yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff being built and getting more automation, more data is kind of sums it up.
Thank you so much. I'm actually personally excited to try out some of the things that you just mentioned. So I'm going to find you after this and ask more for sure. But thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for your time. We're over, so really glad that you could stay, and I hope you had fun during this time as well. And thank you again, Brien. Looking forward to seeing you soon as shelter in place and everything calms down.
Yeah, thanks, Jeena. I'm looking forward to it too. I'm being extra safe right now, and I hope everyone out there is being very safe and staying healthy. And yeah, just best wishes to everyone. And thanks, Jeena, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm online anytime. Anytime you want to chat.
Thank you, Brien. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks, Jeena. Bye.